it puts them in peak state. I purposefully put them in a high emotional state. I remind them of all the pain that they used to be in, that now we are on the other side of. I ask them how they feel now that we're through it, and we celebrate together. And once I can tell that they're in their peak state, welcome to the Ryan Rice Show, where we talk about what we learned yesterday that we can apply today so that we can be better tomorrow. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. I started doing this one thing after we closed every transaction, and it's turned into some really positive reviews left by our clients. And it's also been a mechanism for me as the owner to get some great feedback directly from our clients about their experience, what it is that they value, what don't they value. And I want to share with you what it is that I started doing in the event that can help make your direct seller real estate business better. Who am I? My name is Ryan Rice. I'm a full time real estate investor. I am in my fourth year investing full time. I did 40 deals last year, and I try and share as much learnings as I can with you guys so that you can get some learnings without the scars. So, this new process, what it is that I do, as soon as we know the client got their money, and it's typically either same day or maybe one day post closing, I will call them. And keep in mind, when I call them, I haven't personally talked to the client in most cases since I got their autograph. So, right now, as the owner, I am currently sitting in the closer seat. And so I close them, I get their autograph, and then I hand them off to my transaction coordinator. And my transaction coordinator and my assistant walk them through and get them to the closing table. And I am typically not talking to them as much. And so when I get them on the phone, I haven't talked to them in a while in some cases or in most cases. And so they're already typically happy to reconnect with me, right? We built a really good relationship during the acquisition process, and there's some genuine excitement there from them. And so I just start with, Mr. Seller, hey, I just wanted to say congratulations. We got to the finish line. I haven't spoken with you in a little bit, so I just wanted to reconnect and just see how you were doing. And I would always kind of recant their pain. And so I might say, man, Miss Seller, I remember when we first spoke, and I could hear the pain in your voice about the situation with your son and about how you just couldn't keep up with the house anymore, and it was really weighing on you. And I could hear, like, it almost sounded like there was a massive weight that was on your back. And now, like, I hear it in your voice. It almost feels and sounds like this weight has been lifted. But how are you feeling? Right. And so I recant the pain to kind of remind them that we just got them through this, in some cases, very significant event. And now they're on the other side of it. And so I'll say, how do you feel? All right. And they're always like really excited. I feel great. Thank you so much. Their emotions are at peak stake, right? Due to the, in some cases, big, scary process of selling their home being over, or whatever specific pain they were solving. Now we're to the other side. And they'd always tell me, how big of a relief it is or how appreciative that they are. Right. And so then I'll say, hey, well, I'm super, super happy for you. And it has been nothing but a pleasure getting to know you. And I'm just so grateful that you gave my team and I the opportunity to get you to the other side. And I really hoped that we did that in a way that at least met your expectations. All right. And so then they'll always say, oh, you guys were great. You're awesome, blah, blah, blah. And, they'll say something. And then so I'll follow and I'll say, well, hey, that's very kind. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm always looking for ways how I can improve as a business owner, how I can improve my services and my processes. And so recently, I started asking every seller right after the transaction closes 2 questions. And are you okay if I ask you those questions? And I haven't come across a time once where they're like, no, I don't want to answer any questions. But they always say, of course, yeah, what's up? So I say, okay, first question. What is it that you think that if we added to our service, or if we added to your experience that wasn't there, would have made it the best possible experience that you could have been through? And so this gives me an opportunity to hear feedback directly from them on, was there anything that they can think of that would have made it better that wasn't part of their existing service, right? Wasn't part of their experience. And, most of the time I get really positive feedback here, and it just helps, again, put them in this peak state. But most of the time they're saying, no, you guys are perfect. I wouldn't have changed a thing. You guys were over the top. Thank you so much. But in the event that they do have something, I get to hear some really good feedback. And so then I'll say, okay, hey, second question. Thank you for that, by the way. What do you think that if we took away from your experience, so something that we included in your experience, if we took it away, would have made you never want to work with us again? And so now I get to hear directly from their perspective, basically, what did they value most? Right? Because when I asked them, like, hey, what if we took one thing away during your experience? What would that one thing be that would make you never want to work with us again? Immediately they tell us about, what they valued most in the eyes of the client. What's the most valuable part of our service? And obviously that's been really helpful feedback, and I'm going to tell you guys here in a second one of the biggest things that I learned that I wasn't really expecting. But so now in this exit interview, right, we've celebrated them getting their money, we've celebrated them getting through their pain, being on the other side of this, in some cases, significant situation that they were in. They've shared their perception of their experience. They've shared with me what they feel is the most valuable part of their experience. And their emotions are just at peak state, right? They're in absolute peak state. Their emotions are the highest that they'll ever be. And so then, right when they're in peak state, I'll say, hey, well, thank you again. Real quick, as you guys know, I just recently started this podcast. If you could give it a rating with a quick tap of the thumb, that would mean the world to me. And even more importantly, it could help spread the word to a broader audience, which in turn could help change a life. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the show. If you would, Mr. Seller, and no worries at all if this is too much trouble, if I'm being too big of a pain in the butt. But one thing we do with every single prospect who calls in and is trying to make a decision about how to sell their home is we'll send those prospects to our Google page to read reviews from people that are in there that were at some point in their exact situation, who were just like them at some point. And we found it really helpful for them to read through those experience. Uh, we we found it really helpful for them to read through those experiences of people who were exactly where they were and they're part of that journey. And it would just mean the world to me. And honestly, beyond that, it would actually help give us business. I think it would help clients make decisions to work with us. It would mean the world to me if you could share that experience via Google review. Is that something? Would you even consider something like that? And honestly, every single time since I started doing this exit interview, they have said absolutely, and they filled out a Google review. And I would say up until when I started doing this exit interview, I don't know, our get a review percent might have been around like 50%. It was not great. And now I'm almost certain that it's at 100%. Um, so this exit interview has proved very, very valuable. But um, almost always, right then and there, right, I close them on the review. And this is something that we already have in our transaction coordinator processes, right? So we have implemented in our TC process where the TC has already talked to the client, has kind of put the idea about giving us a review in their head. They do so previously, before closing. And so now it's after close, and I do this interview, and this interview is when I close on getting the review. And I do so very purposefully, right? I make sure to ask for it when they're in absolute peak state about their experience. And I help put them in peak state by reminding them of everything that we've been through up to this point, why they called me in the first place, what it was that we did that helped get them to the next phase of their life. And that has delivered some really impressive, some really emotional, some really thoughtful reviews. And those reviews have been really helpful to show as evidence to prospects who are trying to make a decision. And I think what's been so beneficial is a lot of them fill out the review when they're still in peak state, which just not only improves the quantity of reviews that we're getting, but the quality of review is really good because I've just put them in peak state. I've closed them on doing the review. I'll send them a link when I hang up the phone, and some of them will just go do it right then and there. And so to recap, this post-close interview has done two really important things for our business. First, and most importantly, is I get to hear directly from the client anything they thought was missing from their experience, and I get to hear what it was that they valued most. And I want to give you an example of something that we learned by doing this interview that I wasn't really expecting, but we're getting repeatedly positive feedback from our clients about our transaction coordinator process and just how we handle and communicate with clients from the time that they're in contract to the time that that they close. We have really put in a lot of effort and have prioritized exceeding their expectations in that transaction coordination process. And we're in constant communication with them. I mean, my current transaction coordinator does a phenomenal job. She's compassionate, she's empathetic. She just does such a nice job of relating to them and constantly communicating to them where we are in the process so they always know. And we've just received repetitive over and over feedback from almost every single client that is the one thing that they wouldn't take away from their experience. And before we received that feedback, I don't think that I would have placed the same level of significance on that part of our process. And it's really made me realize how important that transaction coordination process and how important the person that's sitting in that seat is in the eyes of the client experience. And so I kind of have this newfound belief of how important it is to have that right person, the right personality, someone that's compassionate, someone that can relate to them, someone who values speed in communicating to them, because our clients are telling us hands down that they absolutely love that. And I think that is how we're exceeding their expectations. And so I wanted to share that because, without doing this post exit interview, again, I don't think I would have placed as much significance on that transaction coordination. But the second thing that this post close exit interview does is it puts them in peak state. I purposefully put them in a high emotional state. I remind them of all the pain that they used to be in, that now we are on the other side of. I ask them how they feel now that we're through it, and we celebrate together. And once I can tell that they're in their peak state, I ask them for a review. And not only, again, has it helped us actually get reviews and improve the percentage of deals that I get a good review on, but it's drastically improved the quality of that review because they seem to be filling it out when they are in this peak emotional state. And so if you run a direct to seller real estate business and you, as the owner, are not interviewing or talking with your clients very purposefully post close and immediately when the transaction is done, you might be missing an opportunity to make your business better. And it's something I'm going to personally continue to do. This is not something I'm going to delegate. This is something as the owner, I think is very important because they hear directly from me as the owner. It's helped me a ton. It's helped our team a ton. And I would encourage you to consider it as well. So I wanted to share that with you guys. That post-close exit interview has been awesome. I hope you guys got some value out of that. Thank you so much for your attention. If you did get some value and you want to share this, that would be excellent. That's how this podcast grows. But I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.